Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are strapping in for, I think, an exploration of maybe the most influential self-help and management text of the last century.
Has to be.
Stephen R. Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It came out in 1989, and it's one of those books everyone quotes, but maybe doesn't fully get.
Oh, for sure.
So our mission today is to, cut through the jargon, really understand the principles that make it last, and figure out what separates it from all the quick fix productivity hacks you see everywhere now.
It's such an essential deep dive because Covey's whole point was a fundamental shift in perspective. He wanted to move away from what he called the personality ethic.
Okay, what's that? The personality ethic.
It's all the surface level stuff.
Yeah.
Communication techniques, a positive attitude, things like that. And he centered his entire framework on the character ethic.
The foundation.
Exactly. He basically argued that if you want real permanent change, not just like a temporary boost in your output, you have to start with deeply rooted, principle-centered changes in your behavior.
So if most modern business books are about, say, painting the outside of the house, giving you new tools, making it look good, Covey was saying we have to go back and check the foundation first.
Pour the concrete. That's a perfect analogy. Take something like time management. A modern hack is use the Pomodoro technique. It's a tool.
Right.
Covey's approach is all about the principle. Why are you focusing? What core value does this task actually serve? The change is totally internal, and he lays it all out as a journey. From dependence to independence, and then finally to what he calls interdependence.
That structure is so key. So let's just quickly map it out. It starts with 3 habits focused just on you, on the individual. The private victory, he calls it.
Yes, habits 1, 2, and 3. That's all about self-mastery, getting your own house in order. Once you can do that, then you can move on to habits 4, 5, and 6.
Which is interdependence, succeeding with other people.
Right. And then the last one, habit 7, is the one that holds it all together. Continual improvement. It's the engine.
Perfect. Okay, let's start that private victory. It all begins with habit 1. Be proactive. And this sounds like, something you'd see on a motivational poster.
It does, but he takes it so much deeper than just hustle. He's really talking about recognizing your fundamental human freedom.
The freedom to choose.
The freedom to choose your response to anything that happens to you. And the key idea he gives us here is the difference between your circle of influence and your circle of concern.
Ah, yes, the 2 circles. I feel like we spend so much of our time and energy in that outer circle, the circle of concern, worrying about the economy, politics, what someone else does.
All things we can't actually change. And if you pour your energy into that circle of concern, you just feel powerless. You burn out. So being proactive means you intentionally focus your energy, your decisions, everything, only on your circle of influence.
The things you can actually do something about.
The things you can actually affect. And the amazing thing is, when you do that, your circle of influence starts to grow.
So give us a quick example, like in a messy day-to-day work situation.
Okay, so imagine you've got a really difficult stakeholder, or there's a project delay you can't avoid. The reactive person complains about the stakeholder, stresses about the deadline. That's all circle of concern.
Right.
The proactive response is to say, okay, I can't control them. I can't control the delay, but I can control how I communicate the risk. I can control how I prepare for it. It's that immediate shift in focus. It's taking full responsibility.
Okay, so once you have that internal control, you need a destination. That takes us to habit 2. Begin with the end in mind. This is about making sure all that proactive energy is actually pointed in the right direction.
This is the vision part of the process. And Covey's main advice here is to develop a personal mission statement. And this isn't just, setting goals.
What's the difference?
Goal setting is tactical. Like, I want to hit this revenue target. A mission statement is, it's strategic, it's principled. I want to be a person of integrity. I want to be a great mentor to my team. It's about who you want to be.
So the mission statement defines the character, and the goals are just ways you express that character.
You got it. He uses this powerful image. He asks you to imagine your own funeral. What do you want people to say about you? Not how much money you made, but what kind of person you were. Without that end in mind, you risk climbing the ladder of success really fast, only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall.
Oof, yeah. Okay, so we have control and we have direction. Now comes the discipline. Habit 3, put first things first. This is where the time management piece really clicks into place, but with a twist.
A huge twist. This is where he completely reframes how we think about efficiency. He introduces the time management
The
matrix.
4 quadrant.
The 4 quadrants. Everything gets sorted into urgent versus important.
Okay, so quadrant third is the crises. Urgent and important. Quadrant third is urgent but not important, like most interruptions, a lot of emails.
Other people's priorities, basically.
Yeah.
And quadrant third is just busy work,
Yep.
escape activities.
The time wasters.
And the whole key, the absolute secret to effectiveness, he says, is to live in quadrant 2. Tasks that are important, but not urgent.
And those are things like building relationships, long-term planning, personal development.
Exactly, the high leverage stuff. But they're also the easiest things to put off, right? They don't scream at you for attention like a crisis in quadrant I does.
That's so true. Why is it so hard for us to protect time for Q2?
Because it takes proactive effort. That's habit 1. And it needs a clear vision. That's habit 2. Our brains are just wired for urgency. You get a little dopamine hit from putting out a fire. Covey says truly effective people have to actively fight that bias. You have to schedule your quadrant 2 time even when nothing bad will happen if you skip it today.
But if you keep skipping it, you end up living in quadrant I, just constantly fighting fires.
That is the road to burnout.
That's a really strong bridge to the next part. So habits 1 to 3 are the private victory. Now we're moving into the public sphere. Interdependence. It starts with habit 4. Think win-win.
And this is the foundation for any successful long-term relationship. But to even get to a win-win mindset, he says you first have to adopt an abundance mentality.
Which is more than just there's plenty for everyone, right? And how does that actually change how you approach, say, a negotiation?
It changes the entire game. The opposite, the scarcity mindset, is what most of us have. It says, if you win, I lose. If you get that promotion, that's one less for me. It's a zero-sum world.
Right.
The abundance mentality is the core belief that success, respect, ideas, they're not finite. There's enough for everyone. And that belief lets you genuinely search for solutions that help both people because you aren't afraid of them getting a piece of the pie.
But what about those situations where, a perfect win-win just isn't possible when someone has to give something up?
And that's where he adds a brilliant pragmatic safety valve that people often forget, the no-deal option. He argues that if you can't find a true win-win, it is so much better for the relationship and for your own integrity to just agree to disagree. Walk away. No deal. It's better than forcing a bad compromise where someone feels like they lost.
So that respect for the relationship flows right into habit 5, which I think might be the hardest one of all. Seek first to understand, then to be understood.
Oh, it's definitely the hardest.
Yeah.
His observation is that most of us don't listen to understand. We listen to reply.
We're just waiting for our turn to talk.
Exactly. We're just formulating our argument in our head. And he says the antidote is empathetic listening. You have to genuinely, truly understand the other person's emotions, their point of view, their whole world, before you even think about presenting your own case.
But in a tough negotiation or a conflict, doesn't that risk making you seem weak? Or like you're agreeing with them?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
But he's very clear. Empathetic listening is not agreement. It's intelligence gathering. You're not giving up your position. You're just gaining a deeper understanding of theirs. And the payoff is huge.
How so?
When someone feels truly deeply heard and validated, their defensiveness just melts away. You build up this emotional bank account with them so that when it's your turn to speak, they're actually willing to listen.
And when you have that trust, you can get to habit 6. Synergize. This feels like the big payoff for all the previous habits. This is where 1 + 1 = 3.
Or 10 or 100.
Yeah.
But synergy is so much more than just teamwork. It's about creative cooperation. It happens when you have a high-trust environment where differences aren't just tolerated, they're celebrated.
So it's not compromise, where everyone kind of loses a little something.
No, it's the opposite. Compromise is 1 + 1 = 1.5. Synergy is about using those different perspectives to invent a totally new solution, a third alternative that is way better than what either person came up with on their own. It's the ultimate in creative problem solving.
So all of this, self-mastery, relationship mastery, it sounds amazing, but also exhausting, which I guess is why we need the final habit, habit 7. Sharpen the saw.
It is the habit that makes all the other habits possible. It's about renewal. It's planned, proactive self-care. And Covey breaks it down into 4 key areas.
Physical, mental, social, and spiritual.
That's it. Physical is your body exercise, nutrition. Mental is your mind reading, learning. Social is about your relationships, serving others, connecting. And spiritual is about your core values, meditation, time in nature, connecting to your purpose. That one feeds right back into habit 2.
So why is this one so non-negotiable? Can't you just, push through and focus on the productive habit.
No way. If you ignore habit 7, the other 6 become these impossibly heavy burdens. You won't have the mental clarity for quadrant 2 tasks. You won't have the patience for empathetic listening. You won't have the creative energy for synergy. Sharpening the saw is what prevents burnout. It's what keeps the engine running.
So let's bring this all together for someone listening today, 35 years after this book came out. What keeps it so relevant?
I think its biggest strength is that it refuses to give you shortcuts. It's a whole system. It connects your character, your relationships, and your productivity. And it's practical. He gives you the tools like the time matrix or writing a mission statement. The principles don't really get old.
But let's talk about the critiques. I mean, if it's so great, why do so many people buy it, start it, and then just put it on the shelf? What's the biggest hurdle?
Well, first, the style can be a bit
Yeah.
heavy. It can feel academic, a little dense, and he uses his own jargon paradigms, synergy, PBC balance.
Right. And some people say he's just repackaging older ideas.
That's a common critique. But I think the real challenge is just the sheer level of commitment it requires. You're not just changing your to-do list, you're being asked to change your entire mindset.
And some of these principles can feel a bit idealistic, like always think win-win in a super competitive environment.
Absolutely. The real difficulty is that this isn't a book you just read. It's a multi-year commitment to unlearning decades of reactive habits. It takes time.
So for you listening, if you're ready for that deep principled change, what's the best way to start without just getting completely overwhelmed?
I think the sources all point to starting small but being consistent. First, don't just read it, do it. Actually sit down and write a personal mission statement. Second, use the time matrix. Like this week, block out 1 or 2 hours for a really important quadrant 2 activity and guard that time like a hawk.
And what about habit 7?
That might be the most important starting point of all. Pick one of those 4 areas: physical, mental, social, spiritual, and commit to doing one small thing to sharpen the saw every single day. If you don't build up your energy, the rest of it is just, it's not going to happen.
And this is where it gets really interesting because Covey points out that the habits don't just work in isolation. They create this flywheel effect. They all reinforce each other.
It's a continuous compounding upward spiral.
So for you, the listener, seeking that deep, lasting effectiveness, here's the final question to think about. Given the time and commitment this all takes, which of these 7 habits do you think would be the hardest for you to truly live by? And once you identify that one, could mastering habit 7, just focusing on your own renewal and energy, be the one key that gets that whole flywheel started and ensures it never stops spinning?